You are now listening to MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Chill! Yes, hello everybody. This is your boy Ken, aka MrGentleman YPG, and a Premier Boy Podcast. Welcome to another new episode of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Hope all is well. Before we talk about this a special day that we have today, I got to talk about why I took a short break and stuff like that. I know it's sort of been a while, and I know that I put out episode weekly, but a lot had happened. So back in the end of December 27th, I tested positive. Yeah. So behind that kind of messed up my plans of what to do with the show and stuff like that. Good thing that I put out the New Year episode. That was recorded before I tested positive. But episodes going forward after that, I had no plans. I put out the bonus episode last week, and there was no episode this past Sunday. But just know a little update, I am doing a lot more better than I once was. Hopefully soon I will be in the clear. I mean, I should be in the clear now, actually. I am in the clear. I am in the clear. But I didn't talk about this because, I didn't, when you just feel weird, this mess with you mentally. But just know I will open up more about this later this season. I will have a whole episode about my journey dealing with this. So so I just want to say thank God that I am good. Thank God my family's good. Yeah, that's all that matters, yo. That we are good. I thank God for that, man. I'm not even gonna lie. But now on to today's episode, and today is a very, very special day. Today is the 3rd year anniversary of the Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Yes, we finally made it 3 years, y'all. January 20th, y'all. I remember the first day I made this show, man, and we're gonna dive more into that. Because you already know on our anniversary episode, we're going to talk about, my podcast journey, the origin story, each season, how all the episodes came together, the guests, stuff like that. I'm acknowledge every guest, all 40 of y'all. I'm acknowledge every guest because, like I said, whether for y'all, the show would not happen. Like, all the amazing guests that came on the show. Well, everybody play a part. Everybody play a part. So I go acknowledge each and every guest by order. And so we're gonna talk about my podcast journey. And I'm just happy that we made 3 years of MrGentleman Like the Podcast. Thank you to every support that every listener, that everybody that shared. And thank y'all. And of course, we got the anniversary shoutouts. Like I say every year, I do not know what any of y'all said in the anniversary shoutouts. So just like y'all, I'm tuning in to listen to the shoutouts. So so y'all already know, sit back, relax, and I'll be right back. Happy 3rd year anniversary to the Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Cheers!
Hello, everyone. My name is Fabi. I want to take this time to send a shout out to MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast on its 3rd year anniversary. I am so proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing. You're great. And that's it. Take care.
This is Bronx Boom Boom wishing a happy anniversary to Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast.
Hey, what's up? This is Beauty Bella, and I just want to give a big anniversary shout out to the Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. May you have many more years of great shows, great guests, and great content.
This is Shar Bliss, and I want to wish Ken the Gentleman a happy anniversary.
Hey everyone, this is your girl Naya Rume from Who the F is Nana podcast, and I would like to give a shout out to Mr. Gentleman's Lifestyle Podcast. Happy anniversary and many, many more. Later.
Hey, how y'all doing out there? This is Fiordalisa White. Came through to Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast to come and wish my boy Ken a happy anniversary. I can't believe it. It's so fast, right? Well, believe it, man. You've been doing your thing for a whole another year, and I wish you nothing but the best. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep pushing. Keep positive. Keep this alive, and I'm gonna keep supporting you, cause that's what I do. One.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. At the time, I will be giving y'all the Cinnamon Facts quote of the day. And today's quote of the day is thank God for life. And what I mean by that is self-explanatory. Thank God for life, man. Like, people don't be just thank God for life. You just gotta be happy that God is always here for you, especially during hard times. That's the time that I have. It was a lot. And I think he's been with me every step of the way. And I know he will continue to be with me through the long run. So that's why I say thank God for life. And that is the day with the Gentleman Facts for the day.
Hey, this is Bromar from The Bromar Show, and I just want to say happy anniversary to the MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast.
Hey, this is Cece from the Mind of Cece, and I want to wish a happy anniversary to Mr. Gentleman's Lifestyle Podcast.
Hi, this is Michelle Miller from Mentors on the Mic podcast, and I want to wish a happy anniversary to Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast.
Hi, this is Paige from the Badass Fabulous podcast. This is huge, your 3rd anniversary. Congrats to the Gentleman Lifestyle podcast, and I'm wishing you a happy and wonderful anniversary. Cheers.
Ken! It's your favorite sister / host of host at a Fistful podcast. This is Chrissy Christ. And I just want to say I'm so proud of you. And I just want to wish you the best for your 3rd year anniversary. It's a big celebration. It's a major, major accomplishment as an indie podcast. And I just want to say I am so proud of you. I'm very much proud of you, and keep it going. Don't stop. And we in this together. You're not alone. Happy podversary, my brother.
Hey, what's up? This is Jay Siobhan for Surviving the Journey podcast. And I just want to say, wow, congratulations to Ken for Mr. Lifestyle Gentleman podcast to go for 3 years now. 3 years? Like, wow, so much time has passed so fast, and you have grown tremendously, and I just wish you well in your success and more success to come for you and your podcast. You've been so supportive of me, and not just me, all of the podcasters and your listeners. So God bless you and your listeners. Continue to grow, continue to be successful. I love you, man.
Hello, everybody. This is your boy Ken, aka Mr. Gentleman, and I am the host of Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. And this commercial break is brought to you by Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. On Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast, we interview many guests about their life journey, pretty much where they come from and where they at now. Also promoting their brands or whatever they're doing at the time they come on the show. We also have the host talk about personal stories about himself and everything that he's been through. And also we have fun conversation about anything music, anything old school, relationships, wrestling, and many more. And y'all can tune in to MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast every Sundays at 12 a.m. We are also on every Thursdays at 12 a.m. for Spin-Off Series Thursdays, where we have all of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast Spin-Off Series all in one day, where we have a conversation about music podcast every first Thursday at 12 a.m. The Old School Show with myself and the Star Riding Rod every fourth Thursday at 12 a.m. And we have Date Night Talk Podcast with myself and Miss Vanna B every second and third Thursday at 12 a.m. And y'all can tune in to MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, the Pods, and many more. Or y'all can check it out on the official website of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast, www.realmrgentlemanlifestylepodcast.com, www.realmrgentlemanlifestylepodcast.com, and tune in every Sundays and Thursdays at 12 a.m. for MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Thank y'all for tuning in to this commercial break of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Back to your regularly scheduled program. Cheers! Yes, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. At this time, y'all already know this is the 3rd year anniversary episode of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. And I'm happy that y'all still here with me during this journey. And it really means a lot. So, y'all already know I'm going to talk about my podcast journey. So, we're going to go from now until current, And yeah, so we're going to start with the origin story. Like, how did MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast started? What made me want to do it? And stuff like that. So, y'all already know, I told the story a lot. In 2018, originally, the Premier Way podcast was supposed to be the podcast show that we were supposed to do. It was supposed to be myself and Aaron Sands. And we didn't know who the other members was supposed to be yet, because we didn't plan that out fully. And we put through at a big studio, I believe, FLO studio, Empire Studio, right? Due to, at the time, money and stuff like that, it didn't work out. We couldn't get together, and we had to put that on hold. One thing about me, I always wanted to do podcasts or radio, but I never got into it sooner because, I was shy. As a kid, I used to get picked on for having a speech problem. I didn't think people were going to listen, or people was even going to pay attention to me, So for many years, I put that dream on hold for many years. So when I finally had the opportunity to start podcasting, this girl, a good friend of mine, Queen Libra, she had a podcast show. So I asked her, how you started doing podcasting? And she told me about Anchor. So when she told me about Anchor, I downloaded Anchor. But the thing was, I didn't have no idea. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't even have a name at the time. This was September of 2018. So I keep saying I'm going to start the podcast, but I keep pushing it back. To October. Still no name, still no idea, nothing. November, still no name. December, I finally got the name together. And that's how I came out with MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. And y'all know MrGentleman is my nickname, is my brand name that I use. And a brief story about how I got MrGentleman, how MrGentleman was inspired by Neil's album, Yeah, the Gentleman. And since people that know me, they know that I'm a gentleman and stuff like that, I wanted to use it. But at the time, I didn't want to use it because Neil was the gentleman. But Then you know what? I thought about it. I thought about it. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna use it. So that's how I got Mr. Gentleman name. So Mr. Gentleman the podcast, because originally I had my podcast IG page was originally a quote page where I post quotes and inspirational content at the time. And by using that, it was just like, yo, I don't know. I feel like I would like to myself. I feel like I use this page for something else, and then slowly, like, because I use Mr. Gentleman Facts. So slowly, as time went on, I just started thinking, Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle, and it just clicked, and then just clicked to me. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna use. So that's how I got the name Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast in December of 2018. But I still didn't do no show. So January came. We had YPG, I believe it was 7-year anniversary party, and we had a wild night that night, and I know stuff like that. So I didn't go to Taj the week later, and I just think to myself like, yo, what am I gonna do? Stuff like so. Since I was home, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take the time and finally work on this podcast show. So I stayed home. I started planning the idea. I didn't know what I was exactly going to talk about, so I just planned the idea, and just boom, there it was. It was released on the January 20th, 2019. And pretty much what I talk about in the very episode 0 was about why I started the show and what I wanted to do, and stuff like that. But as I was listening to the show, I felt like there was something missing. And the thing that was missing was music. I know at the time, it was very risky. When I first started the show, for those that are listening now, who are the current fan of the Gentleman Like the podcast, from the very first episode, I'll play music on the show to give my show a radio feel. And everybody loved it. You know, it fit the show. And stuff like that. I just started playing music. I'm gonna explain later, of course, why things have to change. But you know, so after the first episode, a lot of people heard it. A lot of people enjoyed it. I got a lot of shocking good reviews about the first episode 0. They just say, "Yo, you got a voice made for radio. You didn't seem like you had a problem with your speech. Keep doing your thing." And a lot of encouragement encouraged me to keep going. So episode 1 happened, and I do try to figure, what am I gonna do? So for episode 1, the original episode 1, we have Mr. Gentleman News. And when I remember the first news I had was about Jesse Starlett at the time. You know, when he was talking about the whole thing about him getting beat up and stuff like that, and stuff. And I can't remember what the other news was. But also, I had my first guest on episode 1, which was my sister, Coach Dale Powell. It was a very short interview. Got a student who at this, so I didn't really know what to say and stuff. So I did ask about her podcast show and stuff like that. To promote our podcast, Coaching Out Loud with Dale Powell, which was premiered the next day. So we did that, and it was a cool episode, you know. But for some reason, at the time when the news didn't fit my show. But I kept it up for a little bit more, but it didn't fit my show. So then we had episode 2, which was Valentine's Day episode. And this is funny because it's 2 versions to this episode, Valentine's Day. The first version was I put it out on 12 a.m. on the dot, and I didn't like the original version. It didn't get no plays. I didn't like it. It felt like I was rushing and stuff. So I scrapped the whole episode. I went to work because I was at New York at the time. And when I came home, I redid it. So when I came home, I redid the whole thing. I opened up about my love life. I talked about the meaning of love, stuff like that. I think the only thing I kept was I had a question of the day. I think that was the only thing I kept up from the original episode. And the revived version, everybody loved it. And I think this was kind of slowly the start of people tuning in a little bit, but not really. But I'll let y'all know when people started tuning in. So episode 3 And then, episode 3 happened, and I still don't know the feel of the show yet. So I still basically going with the flow type of thing. I'm going with the flow. And we had the news. I'm in the gym news. It was a part 2 to Jay Starlet. Then it was something about my high school basketball coach. He had a crime going on and stuff like that. And as I recorded it and I published it, it didn't fit the show. So after this episode, I scrapped the news entirely. From this episode and episode 1, I scrapped the news entirely, and it just didn't fit the show at all. Also, this episode, I had my bro, Mr. Aaron Sands, on the show, and we talk about his brand, Shot by Sands, because it's a camera brand, And this is where the start of Anchor started having issue with the audio, because a lot of the episodes, early days, Anchor messed up my episodes with the audio and stuff like that. That was like the biggest downfall. But we got the episode done. It was cool. And we also announced the Premiere Web podcast on this episode as well. So Premiere Podcast, we announced it. We just didn't have no date on that for it, but we announced it on episode. So next we got episode 4. Originally, my good friend Pam was supposed to be on episode 4, but due to some events on social media and stuff like that, I felt like I needed to vent. And so on episode 4, I pretty much vent about things that really got on my nerves. And I'm not gonna lie, this wasn't my proudest moment on the show, venting like the way I did. But I feel like it just needs to be done. Because my show is mainly about positive vibe and inspiration to others and telling people story. Well, at the time, we didn't know what, maybe we still didn't know the direction of the show at the time. But my show pretty much at that time was all over the place, And so, yeah, at the time when it was premiered, it did bad. Because over time it grew, the episode grew over time. But yeah, I wasn't proud with this episode at all. I spoke about this episode many times when I was on King Talk. He asked me about this episode, and yeah. So episode 5, we got my good friend Pam on the show, and she talked about entrepreneurship and stuff like that. And this was, I believe, was the start of me, my show starting doing good. Like her guest appearance, everybody love her guest appearances. That when people started tuning in the show. So now I had the pressure of keeping up with good content. But of course, even after this episode, even though it was a good episode, one of my top, at the time, it was one of my top 5 episodes at the time. One of my good episodes at the time. I still didn't have no direction yet. So next episode was pretty much a filler episode. It was like a viewer choice type of thing where I told people to ask me questions and answer on the show. And people did ask questions, but it didn't do no type of thing for this episode at all. So episode 7 and 8. The thing about this episode was the order. Originally, episode 7 was supposed to be my sister's episode, and episode 8 was supposed to be WrestleMania, but due to the scheduling my sister could do at the time, I believe they went away or something. We did the WrestleMania episode first, and at first, I did a prediction by myself. There are 2 versions of this episode as well, where I did a prediction of WrestleMania myself, and when I heard it, I was like, oh no, I can't do that. I need somebody to do this with me. I couldn't do this type of episode by myself. So I decided to add Mr. Aaron Sands to the MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast family with me to wrestling shows. So he became a wrestling connoisseur, and we did a prediction episode, started on this episode and stuff like that. And the crazy thing about it is after the episode was done, we found out Nissy was shot. So it was crazy. It was a crazy time around that time. We found out Nissy was shot, and yeah, so I had to re-edit it and do a dedication for Nissy at the beginning of the episode, during this episode. But literally right after the recording, Nissy passed away. So it was just crazy, It was just very shocking. I wasn't feeling it, music, So episode 8, we had my sisters on the show, Twana and Yall from Trezor. Yall was already on the show before. She was the first guest. But this time I had my older sister on the show too, and they talk about their nightlife their nightlife history, and what they're doing now with their business and stuff like that. And the episode did pretty good. A lot of people enjoyed their story, and I'm happy that they didn't hold back about, everything that they went through. But even with this, I still didn't have no direction of the show. So episode 9, we had this thing called a countdown show. I originally said that I do try to figure out my show. This was kind of a filler episode originally. So what I did was, remember I played music on the show, so what I did was, for the first 9 episodes, every 9 episodes, I played music every 9 episodes, and then on the countdown, it's like a review type episode where I play every song from the first 9 episodes, and basically a countdown based on the 9 songs. And shockingly, people enjoyed it, and it became a thing. It became every end of the season, mid-season, end of the season, or end of the season thing. Until I couldn't do it no more. But this one was just a filler, but people enjoyed it. And yeah. And number one song for this song was Brian Leslie, Thankful. So yeah. So episode 10, we got my bro, Long Little Chief Mountain Mal on the show, and it was a good interview. That was doing this interview, it was a start of me wanting to do a music show on the show. I wanted to do a music show. It was episode 10, so it was good to bring my bro and stuff, but it was good. And after his interview, I wanted to do a music show, but we'll get to that a little later. But episode 11 and on this episode, it was the Mother's Day episode and my birthday episode. And during that time, some things happened that caused me to go in a depression. Work was very stressful. I hate my job. I really hated my job, and I just wasn't happy. Also, prior, a friend of mine passed away around this time. Literally, around this time. So when I found out about that, I was like, wow, and it was just crazy, and stuff like that. And it was to the point that I started drinking heavy a lot, to the point that I started lashing out and acting up on the spot that I promote at. And when that happened, I knew that I had to change something. I knew that my mind was not in the right place. So I had to take a break from everything, from the show, from people, everything. I didn't do no birthday because I was my wallet around that time. It was just a lot. And yeah, I just had to take a break. And you already know me, I don't take breaks, but I just had to reset myself on everything. So that's what happened with that. So when I decided to come back, I started my first spin-off show. And at the time, this spin-off show was a Friday spin-off show called New Music / Unsigned Hype Friday, where I play new music that's on the radio right now, and then I play unsigned artist music on the show. At the time, I couldn't get no music artists because everybody didn't trust me with the vision at the time, so I couldn't get no music artists. So the show didn't do as good as I planned. I mean, of course, shout out to all the artists that sent me the music, of course. I didn't mind playing the music regardless, but I wish I would have had some artists. And maybe things would have changed, but maybe things did change. We're going to talk about it a little later, though. So episode 12. So while we doing the New Music Unsigned Artist Hype, episode 12, I had my bro Trophy T on the show. And this was the first live interview that I had. Me and him, we recorded in the city. This could have been a YouTube video. That's how it was. And I wish we did record on YouTube. But yeah, it was a cool interview. Live. It's a live. For my first face-to-face interview. It was a cool interview. So then due to bad reviews of the New Music Unsigned Hype show, I had to end the show. People didn't like it. People felt like I would play more music than I was discussing anything about music. So with that, I ended the show. I was too new, so I didn't really know what to do exactly. So I just scrapped it and went back to the drum board. So now, episode 13. So now I pretty much reset myself and tried to do a new thing. So episode 13, we got the Premiere Boy podcast, my bros, Mr. Emerson and Roddy Rod on the show. And we pretty much talk about, our story as a brand to now, and we announced the Premiere podcast was released on September 11th. And I started to fill my group a little bit, Episode 14, we had my sister on the show, author Shah Bliss on the show, and talk about her first book, Life is What You Make It, Don't Make Life Make You. Check out books on Amazon right now. Episode 15, we had the SummerSlam episode. And this episode, the audio was terrible with the episode Anchor, man. You had to get your thing together because this audio was terrible. Which kind of made me upset about this episode because audio. Episode 16, I had my first guest who I did not know personally. By the name of the Bronx Boom Boom. I had a social media for many years, but me and her did not really interact. But then I had her on the show because I seen an interview of her. And it was pretty interesting. Like, you know what? I gotta add her on the show because I feel like she would have a good conversation. Just like the same issue, Anchor and his audio messed up the interview. But it was a cool interview. And I definitely would make up. I would bring her back in the future. Here's the thing that I've been doing like in current time where every interview that I had in the past, I bring them back to get them a redo due to Anchor's audio messed up. So a lot of my guests came back and remake it. And Boom, I want her to be one of the guests to bring back because of that. So episode 17, we had Miss Monty Paj on the show. And this episode was funny because we both were very shy, but she was shyer than me. We recorded the first time and she cut off the interview because she was so scared. I told her, like, take your time and let's just try to do it again. So we did it again and she just killed it. She killed it, and she always been a fan of the show. She still is a fan of the show. And that was one of my favorite interviews this season, actually. One of my favorite. The next, her and Pam was, I believe, my favorite. Her, Pam, and my sisters was my favorite interview for season 1. And then we had episode 18, which was the Countdown Soul Volume 2. And I thought, and what I did for the Countdown show is I started to open up. More. Like, I would do a segment where I tell a personal story about me. And this episode, I believe I opened up about everything that I was going through with the depression in May and stuff like that, and the situation with me and Cole and stuff like that. So that was like the start of me opening up. And that was the season 1 finale of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. So while I was on a short break, Premiere Boy podcast was on September 11th, 2019. And we came up with 3 episodes at the time. But then season 2 of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast came out in October of 2019. And I didn't have no plan for it. So Mr. Emerson was like, yo, what about I interview you? And I was like, you know what? Sound like a good idea. So the first premiere episode 19, Mr. Emerson interviewed me for the first episode of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast season 2. And it was a good, and honestly it's funny because he was actually my first interview. Even though it wasn't on another platform, it was on my platform, but he was the first person to interview me. And, he asked good questions. And I appreciate him for that. Episode 20 is my homegirl, my best friend, Shadiqa from me and Cole. And I want her on the show because she's a good talker. And I always told her, like, yo, you should have a podcast show because you come up with good conversation. And you're a good talker. You can tell stories. And she became a fan favorite. Her episode, everybody loved her episode. She became one of the fan favorites this season, or this show period, actually. Like, and yeah, she became a fan favorite. Episode 21 was the Survivor Series, wrestling prediction episode, of course. Episode 22, we had Roddy Rod, and was the star Roddy Rod on the show for his first solo interview. And this interview, we took my music, and it was a good vibe. We took my music, and yeah, it was a good vibe. Episode 23, we had my cousin Nana. She was the last episode of 2019, and this was a good interview. We just spoke about her acting journey and everything that she was going, everything that she's doing, stuff like that. Very good interview. Something happened with this episode later. When we get to that part, I would tell you what happened with that part. So, episode 24, and this was pretty much the start of a new direction at Mr. Gentleman Like the Podcast. This was the new year. We was in January 2020, doing New Year's Day, and I had Miss Felicia White, aka Miss Positive Soul, on the show, and we did an interview face to face. You know, she was a longtime friend of mine. I went to Harlem, and we did the interview face to face. We honestly did this interview over many times because it didn't come out right, but we got it right, and it came out good. And the thing about this interview, I say this is one of the first step of new direction, is the fact that she was the first person to open up on the show. And don't get me wrong, a lot of the guests I have is good, but she was the first guest to really open that door, to being deep. And no guest had not been deep yet. So she was the first step of being deep on the show, and I appreciate her for telling our story. And then next we had episode 25. We got my first podcast crossover, Christy Christ from Fistful Podcast. And she was the part 2 of that new direction. And she was another guest who opened up about her life experiences. And after she opened up too, I said to myself, you know what? I got something going here. I think it's time to change my show up. So the show changed up, and I wanted people to open up more. I wanted people to open up more. And good thing, a lot of that actually happened in future episodes. But I gotta thank Christy Christ, because she was, after her episode, my show started charting on Apple Podcasts for the first time. And this was January 2020. So my show started charting on Apple Podcasts. Of course, it was very low at the time, but like on 200%. But it was an honor to even see my show charting so early in the game. But by the way, I'm about to hit my first year, by the way, at the time. So early in the game, you know, and it was like, wow, I was just shocked. I didn't even know what to say. I didn't think people were listening that much, you know. And so then we hit the 1 year anniversary, January 2020. You know, I discussed, you know, the story. Just like I'm doing here, I discussed the story. So next we got the Royal Rumble episode. You know, we did Coach Madera Sands on the show. After the episode 27, we got another podcast crossover, Jay Siobhan from Survivor the Jury podcast. And that people opening up, the story continues. She opened up about her situation, her life too. It was an amazing interview. Of course, the bad part about the interview is Anchor and the audio. Like, Anchor has really been messing me up, y'all. But this was an amazing interview. Then we got the Valentine's Day 2020. Like, you know, Valentine's Day, you know, we opened up and stuff like that. So then episode 29 was the mid-season finale. And this was the countdown show, but this was the old school countdown show, which was honestly was one of my favorite countdown shows that I did. It would play every old school show that I did from the first season until up to this point. And I forgot to mention the last countdown show, No Guidance was number 1. But this countdown show, I mean, I love this countdown show, the old school countdown show, man. I loved it, yo. And it was one of my favorite. Number 1, this episode was Michael Jackson, Human Nature. That was the number 1 song. But I played the extended version. I played the version that nobody heard before. Everybody like, oh my God, Ken. Yo, like you played it. Like, I just love music, y'all. Y'all know, y'all already know I love music. So I'm on a short break. Jay Siobhan invited me on her podcast show. You know me, I was nervous because I never went on another podcast show ever. So I accepted that invitation, and I was on Surviving the Journey. Jay Siobhan was my first person to interview me on another platform. And the thing was, the interview was good. But same thing, like I had dealing with my problem. On her side, Anchor was acting up, and I felt like after that interview, Anchor, it was the last straw of dealing with Anchor, because their audio was messing up all the time. Every time I tried to do an interview, the audio messed up all the time. And it was an amazing Here's the thing, when your audio messes up, it take away from the amazing interview that you have, And I hate when shows, when audio is bad, because it take away from the show. And that would happen in this interview with Jay Siobhan. And I enjoyed this interview. I know that we both need a part 2 for both our shows. So, when that happens, I look forward to it. So I started scheduling second half of season 2, see who I'm gonna bring next. And one thing was this girl who I used to talk to. She came to New York. She wanted to meet up with me and stuff like that. So we caught up, we met up. And I told her about my podcast show. She wanted to be on the show, and she wanted to discuss relationships and stuff like that. So I told her, like, you know what? I'm going to bring you on the show. And we're going to talk about relationships, stuff like that. And you will be my first guest when I return. Originally, March 2020, my show was supposed to return on the ending of March 2020. This was February 2020. Also, around the time, I joined a podcast group called the CORA, the Circle of Outstanding Podcasters, who is run by Angelica from A Little Bit of Everything With Me, and the Coupon Queen Pen from CQP Moments. And how this thing got together was we all was in this Anchor group, and I guess they wanted to do a podcast thing together. Somebody else was running it, but the way the other person was running it, it wasn't going right. So Angelica and them took charge, and they wanted to form their own podcast group. And I happened to be one of the first ones to join it. And I'm not going to hold you, I don't work with teams like that unless I actually know them. But, I ain't going to hold you. The co-op play a big part of my show growing. And I just want to say to every person for the co-op that been on my show, which I am going to say here, thank y'all, man. Thank y'all for helping my show grow. Hell, thank you for helping me taking my show more serious. And also, thank you for, believing me and bringing out my best. I gotta thank them for that, because they play a big part of the Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast and stuff like that. So shout out to the co-op group. So March 2020, the unthinkable happened. So we have in New York City, they shut down New York City. I remember this because a couple of days earlier, I went to an event, with Damon John for Shark Tank, and it was a networking event and stuff like that. It was a cool event. A couple of days later, COVID came to New York, and so they shut down. Everything started to get shut down, stuff like that, for people's safety. And I'm not gonna lie, I never been so scared of my life. I was really scared. And to make things worse, I ended up getting sick around that time. I had a sore throat. At the time, I didn't think nothing of it. So I went to work the next day. Didn't think nothing of it. I always get sore throat, so it wasn't nothing new. Next thing you know, a couple days later, my throat got worse. And I'm thinking to myself, what is going on? So days went on, it got worse. I couldn't sleep. It got worse. I started getting scared. My chest started to close, and I don't know if it was in my head. I started to bug out, and I was just stressing out, really bugging out and stuff like that. And it was to the point that I was so scared, I gave my life to God that day and stuff like that. I was so scared, I gave my life to God. And later that night, I couldn't breathe, and I tried to figure out what's going on. I couldn't breathe, I was freaking out and stuff like that. Next thing you know, I'm shaking. My heart is beating crazy hard. Yelling, going out of control. I keep shaking. I can't stop shaking. My body's moving around. And my sister came to me and she was like, "Oh, you have anxiety, calm down, just calm down." And I was just freaking out, and I just couldn't stop. I could not. This was going on from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. And it was so scary because it just wasn't stopping. I thought I had a heart attack. And I thought that was it for me. And my family didn't know what to do. So they called 911 and they put me in the ambulance. My father went with me. And I went to the doctor and stuff like that. The nurses worrying, saying, "You don't have a fever, nothing. You shouldn't be here. If it's not about COVID, you shouldn't be here," and stuff like that. So they just gave me medicine for my throat, and they gave me medicine for the anxiety. So as I got home, I took the medicine, and the anxiety attack just won't stop. And from there, the anxiety attack did not stop for 2 weeks. I was dealing with anxiety for 2 weeks after that. So when it did stop, I started doing shows again. And that when I did episode 30 and 31 with the COVID episode. Episode 30 was done already. I did the COVID episode, I believe the week it happened. But I updated it and made it to 2 parts. So I did it over, made it 2 parts. And I pretty much came back early, than I was supposed to, and stuff like that. And we were just living in a crazy time, Episode 31, episode 32, I have a sister back on the show, Shopless back on the show, and we talk about the sequel to her book, Life Is What You Make It, Don't Make Life Make You. Get that book on Amazon, y'all. Episode 33 was Mania with Darren saying, and this was a different Mania because everybody was with no audience. With no audience doing this Mania, it was just quiet. It was quiet. But even though it was quiet, it was still a cool show. So then I got better for anxiety. It was the first week of April. I got better for anxiety, but for some reason my throat is acting up again. My throat is acting up. I don't know why. So I went to the doctor. They gave me antibiotics. They told me that I had postnatal drip in the back of my throat. So they gave me medicine for it, and stuff like that. And so it was hard for me to record because I didn't really have no voice. But you would hear the sound of my throat, like you hear the sound of my throat, and I couldn't really record. It was really bad around that time. So I had to take an unexpected break and come back like the end of April, May, and stuff like that. So I came back and I have Cece, a good friend Cece on the show. And we started a new show called Date and Talk. At the time it was called Date and Talk. And she was the first episode for that. Basically, where we talk about relationships and stuff like that. Which was the original idea. I had a friend who was supposed to do it, but it never happened. But so Cece was the first to start me on that. And it was a cool first time. People enjoyed it. People loved that series. So I changed the name from Date and Talk to Date Night Talk. And I changed the name because another podcaster had the same name. And I didn't want to use the same name. Somebody else already have it because that's their thing. So I changed the name out of respect. And I enjoyed the person who had the show. So shout out to her. I don't even know opportunity to be on that show. Don't want to be on that show. So the next episode was episode 35. But actually, let me rewind that. I made my first appearance on Shoutout Karaoke, Angelica and the Cupid Queen show. And when they invited me on the show, I was going to turn them down because my throat was still acting up a little bit. And I still didn't feel like myself. But you know what? So you know what? This opportunity may not come again. So I went on it, and I enjoyed myself. And I pretty much been coming back after that. But I've been discussing all the time. I've been coming back. Then we have episode 35, which is Date Night Talk episode 2 with Anna B on the show, and me and her got history. I'm not gonna discuss those histories because out of privacy, out of personal privacy. But I felt like the episode was good because the chemistry with me and her had was good. And she's a good friend of mine, and she is always good to have on the show. On the same day, I dropped 2 episodes at the same day. Episode 36, I have the podcaster by the name of Brianna Lightfoot Smith. She had a podcast show called Black Girl with Purpose. I believe she retired now, but at the time, she was on the show, and it was a really good interview. She had another guest to open up, and it was a really good interview. So episode 38, episode 37 was episode 3 update night talk. We had Lily on the show, and Lily was supposed to be episode 35. She was supposed to be Vanna B episode, but since Lily, we couldn't get it together, Vanna took her place. So we finally did interview Lily, and it was a pretty good interview, and stuff like that. Lily gave me a tip, because at the time, I was not using no mic and nothing. Lily told me, yo, Ken, you need to get a mic, yo. You gotta get a mic and stuff like that. And I started thinking about it, like, she's right. I do have to get a mic. She is right about that. She is definitely right. So I took that advice into consideration and stuff like that. Episode 38, pretty much the last guest of season 2, we had Natalie Armstrong on the show. She was a podcaster. She also retired from the podcast game. And it was a good interview. She talked about her religion and stuff like that, and her podcast show. It was really good. And she said she looked up to me. Hope you're doing good right now, and Natalie. And then, so we had the season. Then I made a podcast appearance on Cece's show. So after she was on my show, she started her own show called Friend of Mine and Cece. And I believe I was episode 5 on her show. And we pretty much talk about, nice guy, finished last, stuff like that. It was a cool interview. I was nervous because every time I go on another show, I get nervous anyway. But I was never doing her show, especially for the topic. I didn't know what was I coming into when I was going on a show. So, yeah. And then we had the season 2 finale, which is the birthday episode. And I discussed, my 33rd birthday. We had my 33rd birthday. And it basically just talked about everything that's going on with me. And also was a countdown show. And this countdown show, I believe, number 1 song. What was the number 1 song for this episode? I didn't know. I'm trying to think. The number 1. No. Oh no. Wait. I cannot remember the number 1 song for this episode. I can't remember. I come back to it. I don't know if I had to rewind. It had to be one. Oh no. I remember. Summer Walker was the number 1 song for this episode. There you go. Summer Walker and Usher come through. That was the number 1 song for this countdown show, and we ended season 3. So I'm Mr. James on break, and Premiere Boy is still happening. We returned after I finished. Premiere Boy came back, and it was our first episode during the pandemic, and we were doing through Anchor. Y'all already know Anchor was terrible, so I ordered with Turbo on Premiere Boy, really terrible. But it was this one specific episode that changed the game for it. That kind of stepped us up a little bit, which is called This Is America. And this episode started because of the Eric Garner situation. And we have to him, and we have Blackout Tuesday. And me, the damn Sands, and Roddy, we just sitting there, and we just like, yo, we can't sit silent on this show. We gotta talk about this. We gotta talk about this topic. We have to talk about this, man. So we randomly recorded the episode and dropped it right then. We didn't care about editing nothing. We recorded it and then dropped it because I felt like this episode was really important. And yeah, that's what it was. It was so important. I added it as a bonus episode on my show, MrGentleman. It was an actual episode on Premiere Boy, and a lot of people loved the episode. And that when Premiere Boy then started taking Premiere Boy a little serious and stuff like that. So season 3, season 3 coming. I made an announcement that season 3 would drop in the end of June. And my first guest was Banger, a music artist named Banger. And it was a really, really cool episode, a really cool episode, stuff like that. And After this episode, it made me realize, like, yo, I kind of want to do the news show again. But after that, I thought I went on 2 podcast appearances. I went on a little bit of everything with me, Angelica show, and I went on Anthony's show, with the Free podcast, and it was cool. It basically was to promote the new season, and that's pretty much what I did, you know. So episode 41, me and Anthony, we returned the favor for each other. I went on his show, and then he came on with the gentleman, and we were called Wrestling, Garden Wrestling, and we pretty much talk about, life and stuff like that. We talk about wrestling. I opened up to him about me getting saved in March, and it was a good conversation. He was, cool brother, take out for feet. Episode 42 was pretty much an update on everything that's going on with me, and also what's going on in America. And it was just, it was one of those episodes that I needed to get out. The perfect episode that I needed to get out. Ooh, sorry. Episode 44, we got Angelica on the show. A little bit everything Angelica, her first time on my show, and she would drop in facts, knowledge on this episode, and I enjoyed it. Episode 44, we got my bro for junior high school, Dallas, on the show, and we played his music, Do the Right Thing. After his and Banger episode, it made me rethink about doing another news show again. I want to do another news show again, stuff like that. So after the Dallas episode, Spotify removed episode 23, which was my cousin episode, Nana Powell episode. And I look in my head like, I didn't get no email or nothing. I'm like, why my show getting removed? Like, this is new. It's never happened before. And stuff like that. It was just weird. So I pretty much reposted and just annoyed it, It was just weird how that happened, So then I took like a 1 week break, despite that too. Episode 45, we had Keep On Creeping on the show. And I like this episode because the chemistry between me and her was cool. It was just really cool. I got 2 Tauruses. It was one of the things that we were just vibing. It was a really cool interview, all fun and laugh. Episode 46 was my nightlife story episode. And I opened up about my nightlife journey. Also around this time, I was complacent if I should retire from being a club promoter at the time. Of course, I made that decision on the 1 year anniversary episode to promote my podcast, but I said that I was retired, but I changed my mind on that, of course. So then after this, Spotify took off with the Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast completely. And how this happened was a lady from the RIAA saying that I was using a lot of her artists on their platform for copyright infringement, and Spotify got wind on that, and they took my show based on that. So, and I was just like, wow. And that after that, that got me on a downfall. Also around this time, my job was officially closed down. Officially closed down. So I was out of a job and stuff like that. So a lot was happening around this time. I was like, dang. Then episode 47, we had the SummerSlam episode, Corporate Darren saying the court. Episode 48, we got Michelle Miller from Mentors on the Mic on the show. And I liked this interview. It was really cool. Of course, this was kind of the last show about Anchor, because Anchor audio kept messing up. So I just said to myself, enough of this Anchor situation. I gotta find another platform. And I feel like Michelle Miller deserved another interview, because this was a good interview. And she told a lot of good stories. I enjoyed this interview, stuff like that. So episode 49 was the Countdown show, and I opened up about the whole Spotify situation, And the song of the day, number 1 song for this episode was "I Just Want to Live." I forgot the name. Kareem, that little kid. I just want to live. That was the number 1 song, so and stuff like that. So I said to myself, it's time for a change. It's time for a change. I was fed up with Anchor. My show got removed on Spotify. I was tired of just using my phone and headphones. I just said to myself, time for a change. So what I did was, I had money, and I had money, and I wasn't doing nothing with it. So what I did was, I ordered a mic. It took long to come, I ordered a mic, because, pandemic, of course. During the pandemic, it took me long to come, but I ordered a mic. Then I ordered a new laptop, strictly for, like, the podcast. And I didn't need a laptop to use and stuff like that. But I ordered a light, because I was thinking about planning to do YouTube videos after this. And I just started to rebrand everything. Next thing, I got a desk and table, because I needed an office space, I needed an office space for my area. And I downloaded Zoom. Well, I had Zoom, but I started downloading it as for recording prefaces. And also, I could end up getting adding audio program to, like, start editing my shows and stuff like that. And then I also helped me inspire the decision to co-op too, because they helped me inspire to do this decision. And I said to myself, I wanted to step up. I think it was time to step up, So yeah, but I was on break right now, so I didn't have no show going on. So once I returned, then the new start would happen. So also I made a guest appearance with Angelica and Creepin', and I was a guest host. And I pretty much, because they was on break of their show for Shop Karaoke, and I guess I would I was bringing them back a thing. So I was a guest host, and I just came up with a question off the top of my dome. I was unprepared, so what I did was I just created a question for the top of my dome, and they was impressed, like, wow. I was like, yo, I honestly just did this from the top of my dome, and how that was, it was a cool interview. So after that, MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast return. This was September. We was on break, I believe. We was on break like the end of August. So this was the end of September. So the end of September, we returned with the second half of season 3. And we had Pam back on the show. And she talked about, she came back and she talked about Forex and more into entrepreneurship and stuff like that. And everybody enjoyed it. The numbers started growing. The audio sounded a lot better. I changed everything. Everything just sounds like an actual podcast show now. It don't sound choppy no more. It sounds like, yo, people enjoying it. I started liking the new direction. Next, we had episode 51. We have Romar's show. He's the podcast host for the Romar show. And this episode was underrated, but it grew really quick. And this dude, like I said this many times, this dude got a voice for radio. He got a voice for radio, man. He is dope individual, Episode 52, I got my homegirl Amber on the show, and she's an entrepreneur. We talk about her business for the Shade Shop, and it was a cool interview. After this episode, MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast got back on the charts again on Apple Podcasts. This time in a higher position, like in the top 40. And I was like, whoa. This is big. I'm in the top 40. Wow. I was really shocked when I saw that. And it started channeling other countries as well. On Crave, on France, on stuff. I was like, in Germany, I was like, wow, like, what is going on? So MrGentleman was really chart after the change, started charting a lot. I was like, wow, So then episode 53, we got Gia Jackson on the show. She in a podcast, 3 podcast show. She effing did that. JB Silhouette podcast and Decon Party. And this was a really good interview. Our connection was just working well. And I was nervous because I didn't know how the connection was going to go. But it was really going well. And I really enjoyed it. So the next thing, the old school show is born. And I got to tell you a story about the old school show. So originally, the old school show was supposed to be a music show. And the title for the music show is Everything About Music. And Roddy became my co-host, and Roddy was the co-host. So we talk about the idea of what topic we should talk about, and Roddy bringing up a lot of topics about music and stuff like that because it's a music show. He talks about a lot of things that old school stuff. And I said to myself, I started thinking like, yo, what if we scrap this everything in music idea and just do an old school show? So I went to bed and I slept on it and woke up and said like, yeah. Old School Show. So I hit up Roddy and I told him like, yo, we gonna call the show the Old School Show. And he agreed to it and everything, and that's how the Old School Show started. The first episode was like a sitcom. David Sands was on the show for the first episode. It was a monthly show every 4th or 5th Sunday. Second episode was what happened to R&B groups. Then we had a Christmas episode after that. He also addressed him leaving the Premiere podcast. We'll get to that a little later. Episode 3 was 90s Billboard charts. Episode 4 was 2000 Billboard charts. And episode 5 was Soundtrack of My Life, where we had Magna and Marsha, my good friend Magna and Marsha on the show, which people loved them on the show. And this was going from October to March. First half of season 1 of the Old School Show from October to March of 2020. And so episode 54, we got Sadiqa back on the show for Date Night Talk. I brought back Date Night Talk since it was a fan favorite. So I put out 3 more episodes of Date Night Talk. One is Sadiqa, episode 54. 55 is my homegirl Naya from junior high school, episode 55. And 56, we brought Amber back for episode 56 for Date Night Talk. So then after that, I returned on Shoutout Karaoke. I went on Shoutout Karaoke a few more times. It always a cool feeling. Episode 57, we have Survivor State Prediction with Mr. Aaron Sands. Episode 59, we had Lacey, my homegirl Lacey. And this episode was pretty interesting. I did a lot of editing this episode. She was another one that was very shy. And it was some errors on the episode. So I had a whole lot of this episode. So y'all hear it, y'all like, oh wow. Stuff like that. And then you had the countdown show. I believe this probably was the last countdown show that I had. Sally. And this was volume 6. And this was also a 2020 wrap-up episode. And it was, recipe to the countdown show. I'm gonna tell you why the countdown show got canceled in a few. The last song that was number 1 for this episode was Usher's Bad Habit. Was number 1 this episode and stuff like that. So I took a short break and I went on our collaboration station with Cynthia as a guest. It was an amazing interview that I was a part of. And so I said to myself, yo, Cynthia, do you want to be on my show when my show returned for season 4? And she was like, yeah. So we would now season 4 of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast on January 17th. And this is the part where the story y'all did not know about, basically. Because y'all didn't, because we about to get the 2-year anniversary. After the 2-year anniversary, this is going to be a brand new story that y'all did not hear about. Y'all probably heard a little bit about it on the New Year episode of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast, but let's get to it. So, y'all already know season 4 was January 17th. It was a 2-part season 4 premiere. And the first one was episode 60 with Cynthia from our collaborating station, Listen and Learn podcast, which was one of my favorite episodes for this season. Also, Cora played a heavy role last season. Returning guest played a heavy role of season 4. Returning guest. I'm going to explain why they played a heavy role this season, or season 4. The episode 61, we had Naya back on the show, but she interviewed me for Date Night Talk, because we were supposed to do the Date Night Talk show to turn to an actual podcast show, but things didn't come in and plan at the time. I got an announcement about Date Night Talk at the end of the show. So it was a cool interview, and after this episode, she was inspired to start her own podcast. And I'm proud of her for taking that direction. Keep doing your thing, Naya. Then Kobe had the 2-year anniversary. Same thing I'm doing here. Yeah, but this week of the MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast, we have pretty much a premiere week. It was Everything with the Gentleman, where we had, like I said, the first 2 premiere episode. We had a 2-year anniversary. We have an exclusive interview with Mr. Aaron Sands, and we discussed a lot about our history, about Roddy leaving the premiere podcast right because he left in December of 2020. And he discussed that. And also he announced that he had his podcast show called King Talk with Aaron Sands, where I was the executive producer of that show. and that's beginning in February. So then episode 62, we had the Royal Rumble episode because we had Darren Sands and Long Little Chief Melly Mel in this episode. It was cool that had both these brothers on it. Two brothers at the time, it was cool. And then we had the Valentine's Day episode 2021, stuff like that, talking about the love life. And then we have episode 64 where we had Paige from Badass Fabulous on the show. And this was another of my favorite from the first half of season 4. She's a beautiful person. She got an amazing show. Keep doing your thing, Paige. Keep spreading, amazing, content here. And then episode 65, we have Hazel I. Rose, a pop artist. And this was probably, in a very long time, one of my deepest episodes. Very long time. She opened up about her mental health, psychosis, stuff like that. And it got really good reviews. Really good reviews. And then I got my bro Sam with episode 66, my bro Sam on the show. And then I made a MrGentleman the Pocket website in March. So we made a website and we decided to take that new direction to go to show more. Even like I said, like I mentioned on New Year episode, the website is down at the moment, but we'll be back in business soon. And then I made my first guest appearance in 2021, which was Marco from Where the Rabbit Go for his 1 year anniversary, alongside Anthony and Jessica from Beautiful Feet Podcast, and Angelica from A Little Bit Everything With Me. It was a cool interview. But then the unthinkable happened again. Universal hit me up. They took down a lot of my episodes off Spotify. I got back on Spotify after the first time. A lot of episodes on Spotify, and a lot of them, and they were just bugging. They took out a lot of my episodes for no reason, which caused me to be like, you know what, enough is enough. I contacted them, let them know what we could do and stuff like that. They didn't hit me back on it, and a few episodes later, I had to make a decision. But when I get to that, I got y'all. So episode 67, we had the Royal WrestleMania episode this year with Darren Sands. Episode 68, we got Miss Vonda B back on the show. And this time I interviewed her about herself. And I had to shout out to her because she opened up heavy this episode. And I'm proud of her for that. And I want that day come back to the show. Y'all might see her a lot more in the future. You will see. So episode 69, I decided to make a hard decision on rebranding my show completely, as in playing no more music on my show. And because of the copyright strikes and stuff like that, it would hit my show really bad. And I just wanted to rebrand my show completely. So no, I didn't play no more music on my show except for, a little bit on the old school show, but then I stopped that too. So I don't play no music on my show except for when I talk about the next show. But it was a really hard decision. And after that mid finale, I just decided to take a long break. This probably was my longest mid break I took in a while. God, it was like, nah, man. I gotta figure out my next plan. So this was March. It was like the middle of March. I didn't come back until May. That's how I was planning my next move, because I just was not happy. That whole thing took a toll on me, And I had to just rebrand my whole show. So what I did was I took every song off every show. That's how I started to rebuild the stage. I took music out of every show. I took all my songs out of every show, every whole episode. While I was doing that, I re-edited all my old shows where I re-edited whatever audio was messed up, I put it together so it won't sound like it messed up no more. And I didn't work hard and just be that. We edited the whole show. And I'm not gonna lie, after we did that, the show sounded a lot better. I'm not gonna hold you. As much I miss playing music, even though a very few episodes do got music on it, a very few episodes, but only because of main things like episode 0, the anniversary episodes, the Valentine's Day episodes, and the old school show. The first half of the old school show, and that's it. But I miss playing music on my show because it made the show completely different. And it made my show different from every podcast show, you know? It made my show different from every podcast show. And I wanted to stand out. But since then, when I couldn't stand out no more, I was just like, dang. But even after all that, I decided to come up with a new spin-off show. This is more of a rebranding of an old spin-off show. And that's when I wanted to give the show another try. I renamed it and everything. So I brought back the Unsigned Hype Artist Show. Remember when I brought that back, that when I had it the first time in June of 2019. It didn't work out. I decided to give it another chance, but this time do things a little bit more different. So, of course, that wasn't the name, of course. The name was A Conversation About Music Podcast, where, you know, I bring ensemble artists on the show. Well, now it's all artists, but at the time it was just ensemble artists on the show, and we interview them and play their music because I like to showcase new artists. That was the plan of the show, and also we had new discussions, stuff like that. And I set this premiere for June of 2021, and yeah, and you know, and of course we do have the old school show 2 going on, so we had the main series and 2 spin-off shows under our belts. So I was proud for this rebuild. So when I did finally came back, our first guest from episode 70, we had my aunt on the show, Miss Rolanda Powell, and she basically discussed, you know, her being an author, and all the awards she achieved and stuff like that. It was an amazing interview. It became a top 5 interview, top 5 show, you know. And then next we had brought back Cece back on the show, and we talked about her brand and her podcast show and stuff like that. Then I had my biggest birthday episode, my biggest episode ever actually, with my birthday, my 34th birthday episode, where I pretty much opened up about, you know, my birthday for that year and how I felt about people and stuff like that. And I guess a lot of people agree because it became one of my biggest episode ever. It's numbers that I can't even imagine. You know, it was crazy how big it is. But of course, it didn't end there. The second half of the old school show returned. And right when we returned, we brought back Magna Marshall on the show for the Nickelodeon episode. You know, and that became my second biggest episode. And I was just like, wow, what is going on? Like, the numbers was just crazy, you know. The number was like numbers that I did not expect to see, you know. And I was just shocked, like, wow. And a lot of people enjoyed this episode. A lot of people enjoyed Magna Marshall, and they became a fan favorite and stuff like that. And yeah, I thought I'd bring them back a lot, you know. So let me talk about the second half of the old school show. So episode 7, we have Disney TV shows, and Magna was a guest on that show. Episode 8 and 9, we had Saturday morning cartoon era, but the Aaron Sands came back for those 2 episodes. And then the season 1 finale, we had Bada B on the show for the Wonderful World Disney Movies episode. And that's how season 1 was. And, you know, the old school show, everybody enjoyed the old school show. It's what it became a fan favorite. Everybody loved that show. Everybody been asking for that show. And it was an amazing show. And we looking forward to season 2, the end of January. Season 2, the end of January. Can't wait. So then, second spin-off show premiered, A Conversation About Music Podcast, which premiered in June of 2021. The first episode was a pilot episode where I just talk about my music, my love for music and stuff like that. And then episode 1, we had my bro, Funia and Cole, Twin Turbo B on the show. Episode 2, we brought back Hazel I Rose. Episode 3, we had B Rise on the show. Episode 4, we brought back Mook Dollars. And episode 5, we brought back Banger. And that was the first half of season 1. But the second half of season 1 of A Conversation About Music returned in February. First Sunday in February, you didn't even know. So episode 72, we had Mariah on the show She's a she's an entrepreneur, a YouTube content creator, and it was a cool episode. She was another podcaster that was very shy. Then in June, I made 2 podcast appearances. I stepped out from behind the scenes on King Talk and became a guest. 2 episodes on King Talk, episode 9 and 10. King Talk interviewed me, and then the second one, episode 10, King Talk interviewed me and Ali Mal. And then I was also on Felicia White, our podcast show, Good Vibes Only, also in June. So we came in another episode 73, which was Jonathan Harris, and that was a dope interview, man. That dude, we had a good conversation. Like, we knew each other for many years, where we didn't even know each other perfectly at all, and that was like one of my favorite interviews for the season 4. Then I brought back Felicia White on my show on episode 74, and we interviewed her. Episode 75, Angelica, for a little bit, Everything With Me, returned to the show, which was 1 year later. And then I made 2 more podcast appearances. I went on into a little bit Everything With Me, which was in June, but the episode had not been posted yet. So hopefully the episode will be posted soon. And also I made a appearance on CQP Moments, the Coupon Queen Pen episode, which was cool as well. Also, due to Spotify taking off Mr. Gentleman Like the Podcast and the Premier Boy Podcast off Spotify, I thought I had to look for a new platform so my guests could check out my show at. And that when I discovered Good Pods. And like I mentioned in the New Year episode, Good Pod was a platform that we tried to get me on the show for a minute. I had them on my Twitter for a while, but I always was like, nah. But so one day I decided to check it out. And when I checked it out, I enjoyed that platform. I started using that platform a lot more. You can network with a lot of podcasters on that show, on an app, and a lot of amazing podcast shows. I discovered a lot of new podcast shows on Good Pods, and I'm working on network with them now. So, yeah. So episode 76, we had Star Writer Rod on the show. It was his first interview. He wanted to talk about a lot of stuff. Originally, this episode was probably a YouTube exclusive, but I decided to, put it out to everything. And this episode did really good, yo. Shout out to Roddy. Episode 77, we had Naya back on the show. Talk about her podcast show with the F and Nana, which I should be on my show really soon, by the way. Then we have episode 78, which was the Survivor Series prediction episode. Even there, of course. Episode 79, we got Miss Bonna Bello on the show. She is a poet, and she's pretty dope. I'm upset that episode had audio issues on my end, because this was a really good interview. I know I thought people would bring you back for another interview. But you are a dope individual. The chemistry was dope for this. I really enjoyed this interview. Shout out to her. And then episode 80 was the season 4 finale. And I pretty much opened up about, my childhood, about me being bullied as a kid. And I'm not going to hold you. This was not an easy episode to talk about. And it was hard, I decided to open up, and it wasn't easy at all. It was not easy at all. And it's just like, it was a lot. And I ain't gonna lie, I'm kind of glad that I did open up, because a lot of people know about my story, and that's what I wanted. And after a while, my show just became a safe place for conversation, where people could come on the show and talk about anything and won't be judged about it. And that's what the show is about. And I'm happy that I made it into the type of show now. And I'm happy that I found my direction of the show finally. I finally found my direction of the show finally. So then I took a short break, Mr. Like the podcast, to prepare for season 5. And I went on some podcast appearance. I went on Anthony's show, Wrestling with Faith. Me and Angelica was on that show. We spoke about AEW. Y'all already know how I feel about AEW, so I don't have to discuss about AEW like that. But yeah. And I went back on Shot Karaoke, but this time as a guest host, because Angelica had to, take a break because she had a baby. Congrats to her again, by the way. on the baby, selling many pounds. So I was a guest host, and it was a cool time being a guest host. I sing on that show. I sing on that show too. Easy Lover, Phil Collins, and the dude from Bailey from Earth, Wind and Fire. It was a cool show. So then, also King Talk. Became a guest of King Talk again to promote the new season. Interview part 2. I stepped out from executive producer role and became a guest again. So, and that was a cool interview too. So after that, of course, and then before that, I was finally charting on Good Pods. So, Mr. Jim Like the Podcast was charting on Good Pods, and that was the amazing thing. The crazy thing about it was we never got to number 1 on Good Pods. The highest we got is number 2. So I'm gonna need y'all to download Good Pods. I need y'all to get Mr. Gentleman Like the Podcast to number 1 on Good Pods. It would mean a lot if we went to number 1. It would mean a lot. Also, so season 5. So we are season 5. The date for season 5 was November 12th. All the spin-off shows is over at the minute, and stuff like that. So season 5, we're on episode 81. Episode 81, and we got my first guest, Miss Penelope Rose, which is we talk about mental health. Her podcast show. It was a really dope interview. The only issue was we had some audio issue. I managed to fix it, but I guess it didn't fix enough. But it was a dope interview. I enjoyed that interview. I'm not gonna hold you. Episode 82, we had a survivor sleep addiction with Emma Sands back in the show. Episode 83, we got Kendra Crump, a comedian from Atlanta. It was a cool interview. She was my first comedian I interviewed on the show. So far, in season 5, this is the highest show, highest plays on the show for season 5 so far. So y'all must be enjoying this Kendra Crump episode. So episode 84, which I believe to be my favorite interview so far, with Anna Kate Hackinson on the show, and she got a podcast show called For Change Be Bold, and it was a good conversation. We connected good. It was a good conversation, and we had our first giveaway called the For Change Be Bold Lifestyle giveaway, and we had 2 winners for that giveaway. Shout out to Cynthia from our collaboration station, and shout out to Paige from Bad at Fabulous. So yeah, it was a good episode. Then we had episode 85. Originally, this was supposed to be a personal episode 85, and it was a Christmas episode. And what I was supposed to do was 2 parts. One side was supposed to be a Christmas episode, and another side was New Year's. So when I recorded it and got it done, I didn't like the way it came out. So I decided to redo this Christmas episode and bring some guests. So I did bring guests. I had 3 guests. I had, of course, Angelica from A Little Bit Everything With Me on the show. I also had Cynthia from our collaboration station. And then I had Christy Christ from Fistful Podcast on the show. And we talked about anything Christmas. It was a very fun episode. And after that episode, I decided to change up a bit, to do more discussion episodes on the main series, because I never really did it. So we're going to start doing more main discussion on the main series of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast, and I enjoyed myself. After that, I became a guest on Shara or Karaoke Christmas episode, with myself and Anthony and Jessica from Beautiful Feet, Pete from the Trap Life Podcast. It was a cool episode, It was a good podcast crossover vibe, and I enjoyed myself. So, and then I took a short break and then returned for episode 86, which is the last episode that I put out by 2021, hello 2022, and the only live episode I put out for 2022, which was pretty much reflection of 2021 and what to come in 2022. Around this time of recording, I tested positive for COVID. And it's crazy how I even got it, because I don't even go out. That's the crazy thing about it. But yeah, it was just a hard time. So I recorded the episode before that. I recorded the episode before that, and then a couple of days later, that's how I got it. I'm not gonna discuss too much about it here. Look out for a feature episode of the Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast about that. But I talk about my COVID journey. I'm gonna go dive deep into it a lot more. And yeah. So the question is now, what is the goal for Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast for after season 3? And I mean, I mentioned some of my goals already on the new episode, but like I said, I didn't dive too much on it. Because I want to save for this episode. And yeah, and my goals was just to grow more audience, grow my audience more. Get Mr. Gentleman on number 1, finding a good pods. Let's be number 1 on good pods. Of course, put up some paid content like Patreon and stuff like that. Time to step up the horizon of the show, basically like to grow our platform a lot more. It's time to grow our platform a lot more. It's time to be more global. Of course, more amazing guests. Which I got a few guests coming up. I got Destiny Unique coming to the show next. I got Rosie coming on the show. I got this Blue Star Check for Conversation with Music coming on the show. Yeah, we got some featured guests. Also, try to get some celebrity guests. Like Ryan Leslie, my guy Ryan Leslie. People who I wanted to show for a minute. Ryan Leslie. Y'all already know I put about Ryan Leslie many times. Get my guy Charles Hamilton. Always been a fan of Charles Hamilton. Have him on the show. Many more guests. Next with a lot more podcasters, more podcast crossovers. I could make more podcast appearances, but I do got a parent coming up with that for Nana, stuff like that. Yeah, just making 2022 and beyond an amazing year for Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. I just want to do a lot more, and I want to grow the platform. Y'all know I love doing this. I love bringing guests to tell their story, and I love opening up to y'all about my stories. Cause y'all already know before this I couldn't do that. I couldn't open up. Y'all know I don't like to open up, but I don't know. Doing it to y'all, it felt like it needed to happen, And I'm kind of glad that it did happen. And I thank y'all for supporting me, for saying that I inspire y'all. And just thank y'all. We are currently on 20,000 plays, y'all. We get on 20,000 plays. We are being played on 78 countries right now, over 20 platforms. So yeah, I just want to say thank y'all for everything. It means a lot, and y'all don't understand. It really means a lot. Y'all don't understand, and thank y'all, and just continue to support the show. Yeah, and I'll be right back.
Hi, it's Laquita with the Queen of Me podcast, and I want to wish my brother Ken with Mr. Gentleman's Lifestyle Podcast a happy 3rd anniversary. Bro, it means so much to be connected to you and the co-op family. I want to wish you well wishes, a successful year in podcasting, all that you do, and just say I'm super proud of you and super proud to be connected to you. Happy anniversary.
Hi, this is Cynthia, host of our collaboration station podcast and Listen and Learn with Me podcast. And I want to wish you, Ken, and your amazing podcast, MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast, a happy 3-year anniversary. I am so happy for you. I've really enjoyed the times that I was able to come onto your podcast and just connect with you and some other hosts. I want to wish you well in this upcoming year. All the absolute best to you and your podcast. Continued growth, continued development, and continue to be an inspiration to all that you connect with. Best wishes.
3 years doing podcasting. I am absolutely happy that I have the opportunity to wish you a happy 3rd-year anniversary. I wish you all the best as you continue to grow your audience and produce amazing episodes for us to listen. Thank you for Mr. Gentleman Podcast. I wish you nothing but success. Happy 3rd anniversary from For Change Be Bold podcast.
This is the Coupon Queen Pin of the CQP Moments podcast and of Queen Pin and the Wingman. I want to wish Ken, Mr. Gentleman, a wonderful and amazing anniversary. Congratulations on 3 years and keep doing what you do.
Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. Happy 3rd anniversary to Ken, Mr. Gentleman from Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. I can't believe it. You've reached 3 years of podcasting. I'm up in the next month with my 3 years. It's exciting. It's overwhelming. It's just the greatest feeling ever. You've grown so much. We've grown together, and I cannot wait to see what you do in this 3rd year. Oh my gosh, keep doing what you're doing. You are fantastic. And it's great to see that you've accomplished so much in 3 years and keep on going. You're doing so much, and I hear ya, but you're doing a lot. Baby Miguel, you have something to say to Ken? Say hello. That's all you're getting. But anyways, it's Angelica from A Little Bit of Everything with Me podcast, and happy anniversary.
Hello, everybody. This is your boy Ken, aka MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast and the Premier Boy Podcast. And this commercial is brought to you by the Premier Boy Podcast, where four publicly do where we talk about anything about the culture. Hosted by myself, Ken, aka MrGentleman, Mr. Aaron Sands from King Talk with Aaron Sands, the Star Riding Ride, who is also my co-host of the Old School Show, and Long Live the Chief Molly Bell. And we talk many topics from politics, music, sex, love, relationships, and many more. And also every topic that's going on in the news right now. Many of our topics are very controversial, and the podcast show might not be for everybody because we talk about many explicit content. And yeah, so if y'all decided to check out the show, y'all be warned because y'all might need a drink or two. And yeah, because this podcast is so crazy. I'm shocked it had not got canceled yet. So if y'all looking forward to listen to the Premier Boy Podcast, check it out on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and many more. Each and every Wednesday at 12 a.m. You can check out the Premier Boy Podcast with myself, Mr. Aaron Sands, Star Riding Rod, and Long Live the Chief Molly Mal. This is your boy Ken, aka MrGentleman. Have a good day and night wherever you're listening to this episode. Now back to the show. Yeah! I just want to take the time to thank everybody for tuning into the 3rd year anniversary episode of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Thank y'all for supporting my show for the last 3 years. It's been amazing. And I love y'all, man. I love y'all. And most importantly, I got to thank all my guests who came on the show. And I'm about to name every guest that came on my show. The ABC order. I'm going to name all my guests in the ABC order. So I just want to take time to thank Mr. Aaron King Talk Sands for coming on the show. Thank you, Amber, for coming on the show. Thank you, Angelica from A Little Bit of Everything with Me for coming on the show. Thank you to Anna K. Hackerson from For Change Be Bold for coming on the show. Thank you, Anthony from Beautiful Feet Podcast and Wrestling with Faith for coming on the show. Thank you to Banger Official for coming on the show. Thank you to Brianna Lightfoot Smith for coming on the show. Thank you to Bromar from the Bromar Show for coming on the show. Thank you to the Bronx Boom Boom for coming on the show. Thank you to Be Wise for coming on the show. Thank you to Shy Bliss for coming on the show. Thank you to Christy Christ from Fistful Podcast for coming on the show. They get you the coupon queen pin for CQP Moments for coming on the show. They get to Miss Cynthia from our collaboration and Listen and Learn podcast to come on the show. They get to Coach Danielle Powell from Coaching Out Loud podcast to come on the show. They get to Felicia, aka Miss Positive Soul from Good Vibes Only will come on the show. They get to Gia Daxton from She Effing Did That, JB Cigarette Podcast, and Decom Party Podcast will come on the show. They get to Hazel Eye Rose for coming on the show. They get to Jay Siobhan for Surviving the Journey for coming on the show. They get to Jonathan Harris for coming on the show. They get to Kendra Crump for coming on the show. They get to Lacey for coming on the show. They get to Lily for coming to the show. They get to my bro, Long Live the Chief, from the Probable Podcast for coming on the show. They get to Magna for coming on the show. They get to Marsha for coming on the show. They get to Mariah for coming on the show. They get to Michelle Miller from Mentors on the Mic for coming on the show. They get to Miss Body Pond for coming on the show. They get to the bro, Luke Dallas for coming on the show. They get to Miss Cece from the Mind of Cece for coming on the show. They get to Nana Powell for coming on the show. They get to Miss Natalie Armstrong for coming on the show. They get to Naya from What the F and Nana for coming on the show. They get to Pam D. Allow for coming on the show. They get to Paige from Bad at Fabulous for coming on the show. They get to Miss Penelope Rose from All and Water Podcast for coming on the show. They get to Miss Rolanda Powell for coming on the show. They get to Shadiqua for coming on the show. They get to the Bro Sam for coming on the show. They get to Tawana and Dayelle from coming on the show. They get to the Bro Star Rider Rod for coming on the show. They get to Trophy T for coming on the show. They get to Trento B for coming on the show. They get to Miss Vanna B for coming on the show. They get to Miss Vanna Bella for coming on the show. Thank you to all the guests that I had this season, for all the seasons. Yo, thank y'all for sharing y'all music. Thank y'all for sharing y'all opinions. Thank you for sharing y'all stories. You know, it means a lot. And everything that y'all contribute to the show means everything to me. And once again, I just want to thank y'all for helping the show grow. So I just want to say, MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast, each and every Sunday at 12 a.m. We're on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Good Pods, and many more. We are not on Spotify at the moment, but once we're back on the platform, I will let y'all know. Don't forget, MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast presents the Old School Show with myself and the Star Rider Ride. Season 2, January 30th. Season 2, January 30th, every 4th or 5th Sunday. MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast presents a conversation about music podcast. Second half of season 1 returns February 6th, every first Sunday. I got an announcement. MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast presents Date Night Talk, premiering the summer of 2022. Save the date. Date Night Talk, premiering the summer of 2022. And I'm probably announce it here. We got a female co-host for the show. I will announce coming soon. I already know who I'm picking already, but y'all already know who the female co-host for Date Night Talk coming real soon. If that's not enough for y'all, check me out on the Premiere Boy Podcast with myself, Mr. Aaron Sands, Star Rider Rod, and Long Live the Chief Mountain Mel. New episodes every Wednesday at 12 a.m. We are back. We have a guest, David Ross on the show. Amazing interview. Check it out. Also, check out my bro podcast show, King Talk with Aaron Sands. I am executive producer of that show. Every other Friday at 12 a.m. Check it out. King Talk. You already know. Follow me on social media, y'all. Ken_MrGentleman. I repeat, Ken, Ken _ Mr. MR Gentleman, GENTLEMAN. And if y'all want to be a guest on my show, cause I am taking guests for all the shows for season 5 conversation about news, the old school show, date night talk. Email me about yourself and everything that you do to my email. Ken, ypgent@gmail.com. I repeat, Ken, ypgent@gmail.com. And email about yourself and everything that you do right now. Add me on Good Pod, y'all. Ken, MrGentleman Lifestyle. No, Ken, MrGentleman. Whoa. On Good Pods. So we can network and check out each other's shows. It's a good platform. I think everybody should get Good Pods. It's a good platform. Shout out to them. Always looking down for me. Thank y'all, Good Pods. Rate me on Good Pods. Rate me on Good Pod, Apple Podcasts, and Podchaser. I wish y'all could rate me on Spotify, but we're not on Spotify at the moment. So yeah, MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast website. The website will be launching soon. Look out for the website. We'll be launching soon. And yeah, and don't forget, each and every Saturday, Best Saturday Party at Todd, 48 with 21st Street, 5th. Saturday premiere at the door. Table reservation only. Proof of vaccination. That's the club's rule, not my rules. Proof of vaccination. That's the club's rules, not my rules. Thank you everybody for the shout outs for the anniversary. It means a lot. I thank y'all, man. And thank y'all, and have a good day and night wherever you're listening to the episode. Happy 30th year anniversary to the Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Yeah!
Yo, what's up? You already know who it is. Long live the chief. They call me Mally Mal. And I'm here right now sending love, sending a shout out to my brother from another YPG all the way back to Mr. Gentleman, Ken. This lifestyle podcast, 3 years going. Hopefully we get another 3,000, man. Let's keep it up, boy. Congratulations, my brother.
What's up? Happy anniversary to Ken, MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. We made it to another year, baby. This is Star Roddy Rod from the Premier Boys Podcast. Aight.
Hi, this is Rolanda Pyle. Happy anniversary, MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. It was a pleasure being interviewed by you, Ken. So many people told me that after they listened to the interview that you have great interviewing skills. It was such a pleasure and I enjoyed it. Continue the good work, the God work. God bless you, Aunt Rolanda.
My name is Nana Powell, and I want to say a happy anniversary to MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Ken, you've been doing your thing and you have been consistent. I just want to let you know that I am encouraged by you for me to keep going on my path because I see what you are doing and I am taking note, my brother. So thank you and happy anniversary to you.
Hi, my name is Tawana Pyle from The World is a Girl's Runway, and I'm here just to wish a happy anniversary to MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Happy anniversary, bro. I'm so proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing. Here's to 3 years. Much success. Peace.